Hello, hello, and welcome to a spooky edition of BTFO. Today we're going to be looking at Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein, and Frankenstein. So we'll start with the 1994 Kenneth Branagh version of Frankenstein. Mostly, I want to start with this one because it is probably the most accurate adaptation of Frankenstein, at least that I've seen. It is like 90% accurate to the book. It follows it pretty faithfully up until the end. And the end is where it kind of loses me because, we get the whole, Victor, he wants to create life, so he decides to go to school and do that, and he creates the creature, and when it comes to life, it, scares him, and so he leaves, and the creature finds its way out and to a little hovel. It learns, then it comes back and it kills his little brother, as well as blaming that on Justine, the service girl, and then he demands that Victor make him a wife, and in this one, much like the book, he contemplates it for a while. However, unlike the book, this one just cuts out the journey to England. Because in the book, Frankenstein goes to England and gets pretty close to assembling a bride for the creature, and then has the realization of no, if I do this, they might create a race of demons, and I can't do that. It's for the best of humanity that I don't do that. And so this one is a little weirder, where he just basically tells the creature nah, I'm not gonna do that. And so then the creature flips out and is okay, well, I'll see you on your wedding night then. And the creature in this one, because in the book he ends up killing Elizabeth just out of spite for Victor, but in this one he kills Elizabeth and then tries to demand from Victor okay, now bring her back to life. Now she's gonna be my bride and you're gonna be my cuck, Victor. It's kind of weird because then Victor's okay, sure, I guess I can bring her back to life, and because it's still Elizabeth, she'll still come be with me. But for some reason he scars up her face really bad, and then when she does come back to life, she sees herself in the mirror and is because she doesn't say anything, but the implication is oh, I'm ugly, what did you do to me, Victor? You made me a monster. Then she runs out and kills herself, and it's okay, I don't know why. It feels weird to me because it's the rest of the movie is very faithful to the book, and yet it's oh, I mean, it really wouldn't have taken that much more time to just remain faithful to the book, but instead you chose to do this weird love triangle, because for some reason that's something that a lot of these adaptations love to put in, is a weird love triangle, and it's no, that's not a part of the book. You don't, why would you do that? Don't do that, please. It's not interesting. 90% of the time that they do it, it's boring, and it's I don't need to see this. But so yeah, overall I would recommend the 1994 version. it's, you know, it's definitely got its flaws, especially when it comes to the ending. But there are a lot of neat things. It does take some creative liberties where, like, they have Victor use electric eels in this version rather than lightning to bring the creature to life, which I don't know. I find it weird because in the book, we don't know how he brings the creature to life. Like, there is a story that is in the 94 version about, like, Victor witnessing a bolt of lightning, like, destroying a tree, and, like, you know, having an admiration for that level of power that nature has. And so a lot of adaptations have taken that to be like, oh, he uses lightning to bring the creature to life. And it's like, I don't know that that's what that's supposed to be. Like, I think it's just supposed to be like, yeah, nature has this raw and awful power that can destroy things. You probably shouldn't be messing with it. Like, I think that's supposed to be the moral of the story. But in the book, they never actually explain how he brings the creature to life, because the book is, which it is in the 94 version, and it is in the 2025 version, it's Victor explaining his story to a ship captain, and so he deliberately says, like, I'm not going to explain how I brought the creature to life because I don't want anyone else to do this. And so it's like, that's, you know, that's perfectly reasonable. I don't know why so many film adaptations are like, no, we have to show it. Like, we have to show exactly how he did it and explain in thorough detail how he did it. It's like, I don't know why you do that, but so yeah, I would recommend the 94 version. Then talking about Victor Frankenstein, the 2015 movie with what's his name? James McAvoy as Victor Frankenstein and Daniel Radcliffe as Igor. This is not a faithful adaptation, which is kind of weird, like, because the end of the film sets up that, like, oh, if they did a sequel to it, it would be a relatively faithful adaptation of the book, but this acts as kind of a prequel, or I guess it would be an interquel, because the book, like, literally spans from Victor's childhood to his end, so, but, like, I don't know, it's a neat movie. I like it, especially for being PG-13. It feels like it straddles that line where it doesn't ever really feel like it's pulling back from, like, being gory or anything. Like, there are a lot of body parts, and, like, there's actually a considerable amount of blood for, like, being PG-13. So I think it is kind of that perfect, like, family-friendly horror where it's like, yeah, like, you don't want to show this to a littler kid, but, you know, anywhere from, say, like, I don't know, 9 to 13, they'll be like, ooh, like, that's just the right amount of scary for them. But this one's alright. It's got a lot of, it's basically built on the character dynamic between Victor and Igor, which is kind of interesting because Igor's not a character in the book. And so they just sort of are able to build this, like, weird quasi relationship where they explore a lot of, like, is Victor exploiting Igor, or, like, does Igor actually want to help Victor in his goals? And, like, I really like the creature from this movie. It's not in it for a whole lot, but I really like the conception of it, where they're like, well, wait, we're making our own creature, right? So why don't we give it 2 sets of lungs, like 2 hearts, like, we'll give it all these things to actually explain why it's like superhuman in the book. And like, I think that's really neat. However, yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's not all that great. One weird adaptation change is they have Charles Dance shows up briefly as Victor Frankenstein's dad, and he's like viewing Victor as like this disappointment and stuff, which is a weird, like, Victor's dad is in the book, but he's very supportive of Victor. Like, the only real times that he questions Victor at all is being like, hey, you've been kind of distant from Elizabeth. Like, I know you're betrothed to her, but if you want to, like, marry someone else, like, that's okay. Victor has to reassure people that, like, no, that's not the reason why I'm being socially distant. Like, I actually really do like Elizabeth. It's just, I've got this monster that's been hunting me down and killing all the people around me. Like, but so yeah, so I would recommend Victor Frankenstein as a movie. I mean, if you're looking to get the story from the book, no, but if you're looking to have a fun story about someone trying to create their own man, that's a pretty neat adaptation, I guess, or like pretty neat way to tell that story. It's got a lot of pretty good character work in there, so that would be what I highlight it for, I guess. And then moving on to 2025's Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. And this one stars Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein. And this movie I was looking forward to. I really thought that it could be really cool and a really strong adaptation of the novel. It is not a strong adaptation of the novel in like any way, which I know might shock you, because I know I've seen a lot of people go, oh, this is the definitive adaptation, or like, oh, what a great adaptation this is, what a faithful adaptation this is, which, I'm sorry, but like, if somebody is telling you this is a faithful adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, they haven't read the book. Like, I don't believe it. This movie, it looks really good. I really love the way that it looks, and like all the set design. The creature, I'm not super fond on the way that he looks, because they have a throwaway line about how Victor has this surgical technique that is just so perfect that it's basically seamless. And it's like, okay, I guess. But I don't know. I just, most of the time the creature looks like it just kind of has lines drawn on it. It's like, I'm not a huge fan of that, especially because it is supposed to be super monstrous in appearance. And for the most part in this movie, it just looks like a tall, pale man. Like, that's it. Like, he's got some lines on his face, but they're not like scars or big stitches or deformities or anything. This adaptation, basically, at any point that it can make Victor Frankenstein the bad guy, it chooses to. And at any point that the creature did something wrong, it goes, no, someone else did that, actually. And it's like, oh, because, like, I don't know, right off the bat, they're like, yeah, so Victor's dad, he was a real asshole who was And like, I don't know, I think the film is trying to go for like he was an Aryan supremacist or something, because they say that like, nah, he really didn't like Victor's dark hair and dark eyes, but he loved William's blonde hair and blue eyes. It's like, okay, I don't know why we included that. Like, that's a weird thing to include, considering that's not a part of the story, like, at all, but alright, like, that's a choice. And they make Victor's dad abusive towards Victor. And it's like, again, that's not part of the book. Why did we add that? Like, you know, is that something that we really gain a whole lot from? And no, not really, because you could be doing a cycles of violence type story, because they have Victor is abusive towards the creature in the same way that his dad was abusive towards him. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's going to be where the creature's violence comes from, right? And it's like, no, not really, because the creature only attacks people when it's attacked. Like, it doesn't just violently attack people unprompted. And it's like, oh, okay, so we're not even doing a cycle of violence thing, because you just broke the cycle. Great. So you just did that to be like, yeah, well, that's why Victor is an asshole, because his dad was an asshole. And I was like, great. I didn't really need that. But they also make William, he is, like, only a few years younger than Victor in this adaptation, which is really weird, because, like, in the book, it's kind of a point that, like, William is a young child, and that's why the creature approaches him, because the creature's like, oh, hey, this young kid, he's gonna be too young to be scared by my, like, deformities, so I can approach him and get him to, like, be my friend and tell me where to go. And then the kid's like, hey, fuck you, ogre, like, get away from me. My dad's Monsieur Frankenstein, like, he's gonna beat you up. Then the creature's like, oh, you're related to Frankenstein? Well, I hate that guy, so I'm gonna murder you. And he kills a small child in the book. And so it feels really weird that it's like, oh, but this adaptation wants the creature to be, like, innocent. So instead of doing any of that, Victor ends up, like, accidentally killing or just failing to save his benefactor who has syphilis, because for some reason his benefactor thought that, like, well, yeah, once you create a person, then you can just transfer my consciousness into that person. And it's like, that's not at all how that works. Like, even in the movie, with the system that, like, because they have this, like, special secret nerve system that he's got a map of, and so that's how they're able to store energy into the body. And it's like, but you couldn't, like, I can't transfer your system into that system. Like, that's entirely, like, you know, it's just a weird, like, for some reason Christoph Waltz just goes crazy and it's like, no, you're gonna transfer me in there. And so then he falls down this big pit that doesn't have any safety railings on it and dies. And then Victor ends up blaming that on the creature, and he attempts to blow up the laboratory, but he doesn't, because it's one of those things where, like, the changes in this are really kind of irritating to me, because they made more sense in the book, and it's like, dude, come on, like, the book's, you know, very nearly 200 years old. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, how can it not make as much sense as the book? Because in this, the reason why the creature knows where Victor is because it goes back to the laboratory and manages to find enough non-charred pieces of paper to put together what it is, and then it finds a letter addressed to Victor. And it's like, all I'm sorry, but first off, no, Victor should have made sure that that stuff was destroyed. Like book Victor absolutely would have. The reason why he finds that out in the book is because when he leaves Victor's apartment in the middle of the night, he grabs Victor's coat, which has Victor's diary in there that tells him all about his creation and about Victor and about where he's from. Because Victor points out in his diary that, like, he misses Geneva and stuff like that. So it makes more sense in the book than it does in this adaptation. And it's like, oh, okay. And then this adaptation does a weird, like, Elizabeth is not Victor's betrothed since childhood. No, she's actually the fiancée of William Frankenstein. And Victor's just trying to steal his girl the whole time. Because we need Victor to be more of an asshole in this version. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, he definitely is an asshole for doing that. And then, like, they have a weird, like, Elizabeth really likes the creature for whatever reason and is like, hey, Victor, you shouldn't abuse that creature. And it's like, okay. Like, I don't know, like, why is this something that's here? Like, that's not at all a part of the book. And then, like, she ends up trying to save the creature from Victor and takes a bullet for the creature. And then Victor's like, he killed her. And then the creature kills William Frankenstein. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, that's weird. And then after that, for some reason, Victor decides to chase him to the end of the earth. And it's like, no, in the book, the reason why Victor chases him to the end of the earth is because he killed William as a child, right? Like, he killed a literal child. Then he then he blames Justine. Like, he frames her for murder and gets her killed. Then he kills Victor's best friend and blames Victor for it, tries to frame Victor for it, and then he kills Elizabeth. And so Victor is like, okay, yeah, so if I don't kill him, he's going to just continue to kill off people near me. And that's what gets Victor to chase him. Whereas in this version, he's just running away from Victor. Like, seemingly that's it. Like, he doesn't vow to take revenge on Victor or anything. Like, he's just running away. And then Victor's like, nah, I'm gonna chase him. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a choice. And in this one, for some reason, they make, because, like, in the book, the creature isn't, I wouldn't say he's immortal. Right, like, he could be, in theory, but they don't get to that point. They, like, trying to think of how best to describe it. They do make it clear, or Mary Shelley makes it clear, that the creature can survive, like, several days in the harsh cold off of just a few acorns, right? Like, it does not need a whole lot of substance, and it is very much faster and stronger and more agile than your standard human. And, like, so in theory, like, it is really powerful. But, like, it's not invincible. Whereas in this movie, they're like, no, actually it is. Like, it can just tank bullets. You know, like, it has a Wolverine level healing factor. And, like, I don't know, I found it really kind of awkward where near the end of the movie, he confronts Victor, and Victor has a stick of dynamite, and he's like, oh, you think this will kill me, do you? Like, okay, well then, like, light it, and I'll stay here with the dynamite, and if it doesn't kill me, then I'm gonna come after you, because he just wants to die so badly. But then he just holds the dynamite, and it blows up, and, like, it doesn't kill him. And it's like, it did significant damage to like his face and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like if you stuck that down your throat, like, and then it blew up, I feel like that probably would have killed you. Like, I don't know how you would have come back from that. So I feel like you're just not trying at that point. Um, and then it's just kind of weird because then like Victor just dies and the creature's like, what a shame. And like goes to just wander the earth at the end of this one. And I was like, oh, I mean, in the book, Victor dies and the creature determines that like, yeah, maybe Victor was right. Like maybe, especially now that I don't have a purpose because like Victor's not going to make me a bride and he was the only one who could do it. Like, maybe it is time that both of us die along with this like research. And so he takes Victor out onto the ice and then self-immolates. Like they both die. And like that's how the book ends. And it's like, oh. So again, the book made a lot more sense in this adaptation. And so I don't know. Overall, I don't know if I could recommend Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Because it's a thing where it's like, yeah, it is a different adaptation. And I know that like, I definitely have a bias in that. Where it's like, no, I like the original story a lot more than this version. However, I also think there's just a bunch of stuff in this that makes less sense. That like it's really contrived, right? Where like the fact that the creature finds out what it is and where Victor is by just happening to find the right handful of papers that manage to survive throughout like the winter after the big explosion of the building. It's like, man, that's really convenient. Like, almost seems like that shouldn't be possible. Seems like Victor probably would have taken care to burn those papers, but I guess not. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, luckily they didn't burn or, get destroyed by the elements. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, I don't think any of the changes are really for the better, and it kind of sucks because it's like, I really like the way it looks, I really like the performances, I think it could have been a really good adaptation. I just think the writing lets it down. I think the writing is trying very desperately to make it into a story that it is not, and that really sucks. So yeah, overall, I mean, maybe if you haven't read the book and, or I guess I should say if you know someone who hasn't read the book, and they're interested in this, like in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, like if they're not all that familiar with the actual story of Frankenstein, maybe they'd enjoy this quite a bit. I mean, there definitely is stuff in it to enjoy, but overall, I don't think that I personally could recommend it. I think there are better versions out there, and like for as good as it looks, it's kind of a shame that like the writing isn't there. That it's like I don't really know, like the theme to take away is just, hey, maybe the creature isn't that bad. And it's like, well, yeah, because you wrote it in a way that it's like fully good. It doesn't ever do anything bad. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you write it that way, sure, I guess, but it's like, I don't know, man, it's the Ray Skywalker of Frankenstein's monsters. Like, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully, you can check out the other two adaptations. If there's a better adaptation out there that I'm not aware of, feel free to let me know in the comments. And, well, happy Halloween.